Have you ever walked away from a conversation replaying it in your head, thinking, why did I say that? Or maybe someone told you, you're too sensitive, and you didn't know whether to defend yourself or shrink a little. Maybe you pride yourself on being calm, logical, rational. You don't overreact, you don't cause drama. And yet, somehow, the same arguments keep happening, the same misunderstandings, the same emotional distance. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Are you actually emotionally intelligent, or have you just learned how to suppress your emotions really well? Because those two things look similar from the outside, very similar. A calm face, a steady tone, no tears, no yelling. But underneath, completely different worlds. Emotional intelligence isn't about being nice, it's not about being soft, and it's definitely not about always staying calm. Psychology defines it as the ability to recognize, understand, regulate, and use emotions, both yours and other people's, effectively. That sounds simple, but in real life, it's subtle. And most of us overestimate how good we are at it. Think about the last time someone criticized you, not insulted you, just criticized you. Maybe your partner said, "You never listen." Maybe your friend said, "You've been distant lately." What happened inside you? Did you feel curious? Or did you feel a small spike of heat in your chest? Did your brain immediately start building a defense case? Your brain is wired for self-protection. The moment it senses threat, and criticism feels like threat, your amygdala activates. That ancient survival system doesn't care about growth, it cares about safety. And safety often looks like defensiveness, interrupting, explaining, blaming, shutting down. That reaction happens fast, before logic, before empathy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. High emotional intelligence begins in that split second. Not in what you say out loud, in what you notice internally. Do you notice the surge of embarrassment? The sting? The fear of being seen as inadequate? Or do you immediately label the other person as too sensitive or dramatic? Self-awareness is the first pillar, and most people skip it because it's humbling. It requires you to admit that your reactions are not always rational, they are emotional, even when they feel logical. Research on emotional regulation shows that simply naming an emotion reduces its intensity. When you internally say, "I feel defensive right now," your prefrontal cortex starts re-engaging. You create space between stimulus and response. That space is emotional intelligence in action. But here's the twist. Some people are very aware of their emotions and still weaponize them. They can say, "I just feel hurt," but use that statement to control the situation. They can read the room perfectly, but only to gain advantage. That's emotional awareness without empathy. That's intelligence without integrity. So the real question isn't just, do you feel deeply? It's this. When your emotions are triggered, do you become more curious about yourself and others, or more committed to being right? Because in a moment, we're going to talk about the second layer, the part that reveals whether you truly understand other people, or just assume you do. And that layer changes everything. But first, sit with this. The next time you feel misunderstood, before you defend yourself, ask quietly, "What am I protecting right now?" The answer might surprise you, and what you discover there determines whether you're emotionally intelligent or just emotionally reactive. Now let's go deeper. Have you ever been in a room where someone is clearly upset, but they say, "I'm fine," and everyone knows they're not fine? The tension is thick. You can feel it. Some people shift uncomfortably, others ignore it. But one person gently asks, "Do you want to talk about it?" Not accusing, not dramatic, just aware. That ability right there, reading emotional undercurrents, is the second dimension of emotional intelligence, empathy. But empathy isn't what most people think it is. It's not agreeing, it's not fixing, it's not absorbing someone else's emotions and drowning in them. True empathy is the capacity to accurately perceive another person's internal state while remaining grounded in your own. And here's where many people fail. We assume we understand others because we project ourselves onto them. If I were you, I'd feel. That sounds empathetic, but it's still about you. Real empathy requires perspective taking. It asks, given who they are, their history, their fears. What might this mean to them? That's harder, because it requires imagination and humility. Studies in social neuroscience show that when we genuinely try to understand someone's emotional experience, different neural networks activate compared to when we judge or evaluate them. Empathy literally shifts brain processing from threat assessment to connection building. Now think about your last conflict. Did you spend more time preparing your response or trying to understand their pain? This is where emotional intelligence becomes visible in relationships. When someone says, "That hurt me," emotionally reactive people hear accusation. Emotionally intelligent people hear information. Information about unmet needs, about boundaries, about vulnerability. And here's something subtle. Emotionally intelligent people ask more questions than they make statements during conflict. Not because they're weak.
That's something else entirely. Let me ask you something brutally honest. Who are you when you're overwhelmed? Not when you're calm. Not when you've had sleep, food, and compliments. I mean when you're stressed, late, criticized, rejected, when your plans collapse, when someone disrespects you. That version of you, that's your emotional baseline. Emotional regulation is the third and most powerful dimension of emotional intelligence. It's not suppression. Suppression pushes emotion down and pretends it's gone. Regulation acknowledges the emotion and chooses a response aligned with long-term values. There's a powerful concept in psychology called response flexibility. It's the ability to pause between impulse and action. That pause might be 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds you decide whether you escalate or de-escalate, attack or inquire, withdraw or communicate. Emotionally intelligent people still feel anger. They still feel jealousy. They still feel fear. The difference is they don't outsource responsibility for those emotions. They don't say, "You made me feel this way," as if they are passive victims of other people's behavior. They say, "I feel this. Now, what do I want to do with it?"
But because curiosity diffuses defensiveness. Help me understand what that felt like for you. That sentence alone can transform a conversation. But let's be honest, empathy is exhausting if you don't have boundaries. Some people overextend themselves. They absorb everyone's feelings. They become emotional caretakers. That's not emotional intelligence either. That's emotional enmeshment. So the real balance is this. Can you understand someone without losing yourself? Can you validate their experience without abandoning your truth? Because the final layer, the one most people never reach, isn't just about awareness or empathy. It's about regulation under pressure. It's about what you do when emotions are high, stakes are real, and your ego is screaming. And that's where we're going next. Because knowing emotions is one thing. Mastering them in the heat of the moment, that shift is power. And here's the paradox. The more comfortable you become with uncomfortable emotions, the less they control you. Avoided emotions intensify. Observed emotions soften. This is supported by decades of research in mindfulness and cognitive behavioral science. When you face an emotion without judgment, its physiological lifespan shortens. So if you want to test your emotional intelligence, don't look at how kind you are on good days. Look at how accountable you are on hard days. Can you apologize without adding but? Can you sit in silence without filling it with justification? Can you hear feedback without rewriting the narrative in your favor? This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Emotional intelligence is not a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a skill set, a practice, a daily micro-decision to choose awareness over autopilot. And maybe the most powerful reframe is this. Emotions are not obstacles to logic. They are data, signals, messengers. When you learn to interpret them accurately, in yourself and others, your relationships deepen, your communication sharpens, your self-respect strengthens. So are you emotionally intelligent? Not based on what you believe about yourself, but based on how you respond when your pride is threatened, when someone is vulnerable with you, when tension fills the room. That's the real test. And here's the empowering truth. If you've listened this far and felt slightly exposed, that's a good sign. Self-reflection is the doorway. The fact that you're questioning yourself means you're already engaging the very skill we've been talking about. So the next time emotion rises, yours or someone else's, don't rush to silence it. Don't rush to win. Pause. Notice. Get curious. Because emotional intelligence isn't about controlling feelings. It's about understanding them well enough that they no longer control you. And if this made you reflect on a recent conversation, a recent conflict, or even your own internal dialogue, sit with that. Growth starts in awareness. And awareness begins the moment you're willing to ask, honestly, what's really happening inside me right now?